When you go to a bookstore or traditional library, the novels are sorted by category and then the author's last name. But these days, a new subgenre emerges from book talk almost weekly. We've got lit RPG or literary role-playing games where D&D players turn their adventures into novels. We've got romantasy with fantasy romances. And if you've been here a minute, you know I'm ready to kick off the cozy sci fi. So, how much does genre really matter? And are subgenres just gimmicks? Welcome back to Writing Tips and Writerly Musings with writing tips from the pros and, of course, my own Writerly Musings. I'm your host, Morgan Hazelwood, and today I'm here with 5 points to better understand genres and subgenres. So let's start with, how do we categorize novels? Well, novels are works of fiction, but there are many ways that we categorize them. Here are some of the most common. We have age range, like adult, new adult, YA or young adult, middle grade, chapter books, board books, picture books, etc. We have classification. Is the novel a commercial book or literary or upmarket, which is like halfway between commercial and literary? Sometimes the same as book club. We have obviously book club books. We have high concept stories. We have poetry. We have short stories, anthologies. We have graphic novels. The list goes on. We have genre, which I'll be getting into, and subgenre, which I'll be getting into. And of course, we have elements, story elements. Sometimes readers, I'm sure you've done this, or agents go looking for particular story elements like retellings, coming of age, fairy tale, mythology, non Western cultures, queer stories, multicultural stories, family sagas, Christian stories, etc. So, what is a genre? Well, a genre is a type of book that follows certain themes or tropes. When you pick up a mystery, you know the story is going to focus on who done it. In a fantasy, you know the story isn't set in the real world. Even nonfiction has genres, but I'm not going to deep dive into those. I mean, biographies are supposed to be wholly factual accounts of a person's life or a section of their life. So, at the highest level, although there are more genres than this, the nine basic fiction genres are action and adventure, contemporary, crime and mystery, fantasy and science fiction, otherwise known as speculative fiction. We have historical fiction, horror, literary fiction, romance, thriller, and suspense. So each genre has particular tropes that they use. Now, remember, tropes are just story patterns. They don't have to be cliches, and even cliches have their place. Fantasy novels aren't set in the real world. Romance novels have people forming relationships, and I'm pretty sure horses are required in a Western. So, why do authors pick one genre? Well, a book's genre label is there so the right audience can find it. Period. There are books that are cross genre with broad appeal, but your book is probably leaning more on one set of tropes or the other. A fantasy romance with a tragic ending cannot be marketed as a romance. It's a fantasy with romantic elements. A historical horror might be gothic or it might not, but look to the pacing to see if your novel is a historical with horror elements or a horror with historical elements. Is it more about the historical events and the setting, or is it more about the creeping dread? I understand. Most cross genre authors hate to pick. After all, there's a reason we blended the genres. Agents do not care. They want to know that you understand the market and who your potential audience is already reading. You need to prove that you have done your research and that the market already exists for your book. Amazon does not care. If you want a book marketed and you market it at the wrong half of your cross genre blend, you will end up with one-star reviews because you did not meet genre expectations. The algorithm will hide your book and your book launch will stumble out of the gate. So, what about these subgenres? Subgenres are all about the vibe. Cozy mysteries are about as lighthearted as a mystery gets for our amateur sleuths with mostly off screen violence and mostly closed door intimate encounters. Whereas your thrillers are all about the anxiety, the sudden violence, and the high stakes. What if you're writing women centric stories? Well, if it's upmarket contemporary, you've probably got chick lit. If your story is more literary and less quippy, it's more likely women's fiction. So, if you've got urban fantasy, you've got it set in a modernesque city, often with vampires and werewolves and magic, and the city is integral to the plot. If you take out the city, plot elements break. And there is often a strong undercurrent of mystery and action and a strong romantic subplot. Meanwhile, magical realism looks like our world, and the fantastical elements are mundane and integrated into the world, while historically being written from a Latino perspective. While there are some arguments being made about using the magical realism label for other non American writers when they use their own culture as the basis for the story, I would proceed with caution before using that label for anything. So, romance has dozens of subgenres. It has rom coms, dark romance, romantasy, romantic thrillers, historical romance, the list goes on. Science fiction can be military sci fi or space opera, dystopian, or steampunk, the fantasy flip side of Gaslamp. It can be space fantasy, etc. So I'm not going to try and list out all of the subgenres out there today, but if you do not see them on agents' wish lists, you probably want either a broader spectrum subgenre to query with or just go for the parent genre. When querying an agent, limit yourself to no more than two genres and or subgenres. Now, that doesn't mean you can't throw in a with whatever genre elements, but be careful that you don't end up with a genre description that runs over 3 lines. Beware, whether you're dealing with agents or readers, the more obscure the genre, the smaller the audience. Now, this can be good or it can be bad, depending on your story, your actual audience, and how much hustle you have. And luck. Everything in publishing involves luck. Many self published authors find that building out a little sub niche is critical in finding their own fan base. Note, on Amazon, you get to select 3 subgenres per book these days until they change the rules again. If one set of subgenres isn't getting you the audience you want, try tweaking them, just not too often. So, what about these obscure sub-subgenres? Amazon has done away with the quote unquote best selling author of the subgenre I just made up, to the relief of readers and the disappointment of a small subset of authors. So many people wonder why we still have all of these super niche subgenre tags. Are they just made up so people can rank high on some book list? Well, those of you who come from a fanfic background, these subgenres are clearly descendant of fanfic hashtags, and with those tags come a built-in audience. Even more importantly, these niche subgenres can help answer the question that librarians have been asked since the beginning of storytelling. I loved that story. Do you have more like it? Sub-subgenres get you, the reader, more books like the one you loved, but different. Because everyone knows you can only read a book for the first time once. Thank you for watching and tune in again next time for more writing tips and writerly musings. Bye bye.